my major news is that I've officially restarted running.
As I scroll through my Garmin stats, I get to training readiness, and this is out of 100, 1.
So after a whole 3 months of being on my bike and not having a single accident, last week I had my first cycling accident.
I was feeling really positive because I've not done anything like that for ages, and I was like, oh, but on the third one I was like, I think I can keep sort of progressing through this. The fourth one comes and I don't know what happened, but I hit the wall.
Welcome back to 5 Miles Easy, the 6th mile, the episode where Steph and I delve into what we've been up to over the last few weeks, our running highs, lows and learnings, and what we found interesting in running news. On the last 6th mile, we also asked our listeners to share some of their stories, and we got some amazing responses, so thank you so much for getting in touch, and we'll be sharing those on the show later.
Before we get into the episode, we would love to ask you a little favour. We really would love to reach 1,500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of this year. So if you could go to 5 Miles Easy on YouTube and press subscribe, we would really appreciate it. And of course, if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, please give us a rating and review because it really helps us reach a wider audience.
So Steph, what have you been up to since the last 6th mile?
It's been a whole month, the whole of October. Well, I guess it's involved a lot of running.
Good start.
I mean, I can only think of like the last few days, and I was away for 4 days. So I feel like that's quite a nice little highlight, just a mini holiday when it's getting a bit colder and darker, to have a glimmer of summer before we settle in for the winter. So that was really nice.
Very nice. Where were you?
I was in Nice.
Love it.
Yeah, I'd never been to Nice, and I don't know how I've not been.
It's actually a really good place for running as well, isn't it?
Yeah, really good for running because you've got the whole seafront. The path goes on just, I don't even know how many miles, but it's endless. And also for cycling. So Joe and I hired road bikes, which was super fun as well. Given that I am not a cyclist, he convinced me, and I was one for a couple days.
Well, I'm really glad you had a good time, but I missed Joe because for our listeners who don't know, I've been doing a lot of cycling recently, and actually a lot with Steph's family, basically.
Yes, so
with Joe and Rory.
Yeah, so Joe, my brother Rory and Rose, every single weekend have been off.
It's been great.
Climbing hills and out for hours in the weekend. And I'm just like, okay, I'll be at home.
Well, I dragged Charlie out on the weekend in Joe's absence, and he wasn't super enthusiastic about it, but he did reluctantly say he quite enjoyed it. We actually had really nice weather here at the weekend, so that made a big difference. And yeah, went out to Kent and got a really good piece of cake. But he basically whinged until we got to the coffee shop. And every 10 minutes it was, are we nearly at the coffee? It was like having a toddler in the car.
That's so
It was
funny.
like, are we nearly there yet? Every 10 minutes. So.
I can imagine Charlie's probably the version of me on the bike as well, although I very much try and internalize any complaints, because from the outside perspective, I want to appear like I'm really okay with all of this. And that very much happened. So on one of the bike rides that Joe and I went on, it was literally, we'd cycle for 2 miles, and then on his Garmin, like the bike Garmin, he was like, it says what's coming up, and he was like, okay Steph, we've got a 5 mile climb now. And I was like, oh, I wasn't warned of this. And it's really hard with cleats to start on a hill, so I was like, I can't really stop until I get to the top because I don't want to have to then clip in whilst you're on a gradient. So I was like, I guess I'm literally climbing for 5 miles until I get to the top of this hill. So it was actually okay, and I didn't whinge.
I would have loved that, I have to say. I love a long climb.
It made me realise that I actually do as well, but it was I was quite nervous because I haven't done anything like that for a long time. So
yeah, I mean, fair play, and doing all the running as well. You must have been, it's a holiday, but sounded pretty tiring.
Yeah, it was.
In a good way.
Well, I'm sure you can relate. It was a bit of an adventurous holiday.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And what have you been up to in the last few weeks?
Well, I think my major news is that I've officially restarted running, which
Woo!
is so exciting. Honestly, you've never seen someone so excited about a 15-minute treadmill run.
I love the little video.
I was
so cute.
And it was really strange. Like I started, and bearing in mind, I'm on the Ultra G, which is, don't really know how to describe an Ultra G. You basically put on shorts and zip yourself into this contraption that inflates with air. So it's like a bubble It's very bizarre. And so it takes some of your body weight. So I was running at 50% body weight, which then the idea is I build up gradually to 100%. And so I was on this Ultra G for 15 minutes and it felt like meditation. I was just like,
Really?
I loved it. It was so nice.
Yeah.
Just obviously I've been exercising and getting my heart rate up, but there's just something about running. I was like, this is the best thing ever.
And also doing something that's been taken away from you for so long. I think it's just the appreciation after an injury, because in the middle of a training block, if someone said, okay, you have to go and run 15 minutes on a treadmill, you'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that. Whereas now it's just like the excitement to get to do something you haven't done.
100%. It does make you really, really appreciate running, being off for so long. So that's been my major bit of news really in running.
So how does it work? You said you build up to 100% body weight. How often are you going to be on that?
So I'm going on every third day at the moment, but that's only for 2 weeks. So by the time this comes out, I'll have done my third session and I'll be on it for the rest of that week. And then, even more excitingly, I will be outside. I'll be released into the wild to see if my legs actually work on a road. So that'll be very exciting.
That is huge news.
Huge.
Can't wait.
And of course, the other big bit of news is the Bowley Run Club, which has been my major highlight of the month, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
along with the treadmill run.
That's been a huge highlight, and it's been so fun to work on another project that we're so passionate about.
Exactly. So Bowley Run Club, making it safer for everyone to run on the darker nights. I feel like it's such a topical thing, and hopefully will just enable so many more people to get out doing what they love every week. When this comes out, we'll have done our first one, which is tonight. We are recording on a Wednesday.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll have had lots of people turn up and excited about doing the second one.
I'm just laughing because I'm imagining it just being us turning up. But no, it's been really good because I think the response so far has been really positive, and it's a topic that's a lot of people are passionate about.
Definitely. And I'm not sure whether it's because we've been working on it and it's one of those things that you notice what you look for. But since we have been working on Boldly, I've noticed so many more people raising it as an issue. And of course the clocks have gone back as well, so it is at the forefront of everyone's mind.
Yeah.
But did you see on the Graham Norton show, Saoirse Ronan completely pulling up everyone else on?
So good. Honestly, I love it. That clip has gone viral. It's everywhere, and for good reason, I think. She silence,
just nailed it.
Yeah, the silence from like Paul Mescal and Eddie Redmayne, that was just like, it spoke volumes, because they're like, oh, yeah.
I think it just completely sums it up. It's like, it's kind of an unspoken thing, but it's like, every woman has to think about it. And same going out running at night, it's like everyone has to think about it.
And it was just a one-liner from her, and you kind of just stop and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of just, I think, it's one of those things where you do think about it every time, but you're not actively thinking, oh, I'm having to think about this, because it's so normal.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be so normal. Okay, so shall we go into our running fails?
Let's do it. I've actually got quite a funny one.
Okay.
So after a whole 3 months of being on my bike and not having a single accident, I've been out cycling a lot, like on my actual road bike. No incidents at all. Last week, I had my first cycling accident.
Oh no. What happened?
I fell off my watt bike. I've sustained a minor injury, which is not going to hinder my return to run, but it did nearly make me cry.
Oh no.
I'm not going to lie.
Talk us through what happened.
So basically, it started because I left my cycling shoes at Charlie's brother's house in Guildford. And so I had to wear my old cycling shoes, which I'm basically blaming the whole incident on this, not me being an idiot. And the cleats are a bit worn out on them. And so when I clipped in and it didn't fully clip in, and then I stood on the pedal and it just completely slid off, and I just lost my balance and I fell sideways off the watt bike.
So I was imagining that you were trying to get off it like after finishing, and then you fell.
I was going for a sprint.
Oh wow!
And
so
I
you
just
properly fell
completely
off.
came off. and the pedal like went right into my ankle, which is now extremely bruised. But,
That's so painful.
and it was, it's like when you stub your toe, but worse.
Makes you feel sick.
It made me feel sick and wanted to scream at the watt bike and cry at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Was
so
your
that
other
was my
foot flipped in?
It kind of came out because I fell off with such force.
Oh gosh, that is a proper
I was just suddenly on the
accident.
floor. It was a proper accident.
Was anyone else in the house?
No. So I just screamed and cried by myself.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad it's not too serious, but that sounds very painful.
Yeah. And I've actually, I mean, without wanting to be really pessimistic, I've got another running fail.
Well, let's add to it.
Which is, I'm really confused by. My Garmin has said I'm unproductive for 3 weeks. I can't do anything right. I've tried everything.
I really don't understand the algorithms of like how it works all this out. What is it? What's unproductive? Is that saying you're not training correctly, so you're just not getting any fitter? Or
You know what?
I just don't get what that means.
Right. I've got VO2 max decreasing. Fair. HRV balanced. Acute load optimal. I mean, 40 hours recovery, not great. But
Okay.
the weird thing is, every day I wake up and you get the morning report.
Yeah.
It says you're at your prime. I got 100 today.
Wow.
Prime, ready to go.
Like body battery 100.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I got ready to go with an hour and a half tempo session and a double. And then it just tells me I'm unproductive.
I just think sometimes you can't listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on to one of my running fails because it's very closely linked to that, because as I scroll through my Garmin stats, I get to training readiness, and this is out of 100. 1. And it says, let your body recover. High recovery needs from previous workouts have reduced your training readiness. I will add, I got this watch last week, so I think it needs to catch up with my normal training levels because they are probably higher than maybe what a Garmin would recommend for your average person. But as we did discuss in Nice, I did quite a lot of activities. So I think it's probably just
it's
like...
just freaked out.
It's like, what's going on? But I have been sleeping well.
I feel like the solution to this is just like, get a Casio.
Yeah, I think so, because honestly, if my training readiness was actually 1, then I physically wouldn't be able, I'd be feeling so
You'd be
horrible.
sleeping on the sofa right now.
But I've been fine today. I've been energetic, and then it tells me to rest today, but I went for an easy run. I'm not listening to it. It's not my actual coach. And I felt fine.
I always do that thing. I don't know if you do. I only listen to it. Like, I think it's accurate when it's being optimistic.
Yeah.
And then whenever it's not, whenever it says like, I'm unproductive or I've had a bad sleep, I'm like, it must not be registering it right.
Yeah, but when you're productive or you're peaking, it's like, okay, I'm going to get a PB in this race.
Yeah.
Because I'm peaking.
Like this morning, prime, I'm at my best.
Yeah.
Great.
It is weird how it can affect your head so much, because it actually does affect how you feel. Like if it told me I had a terrible sleep, then you automatically like, oh yeah, a bit groggy. It's weird.
Definitely
So you shouldn't read too much into it, I think. You know your body best.
There must be some kind of optimism widget that you can download, and it just always gives you a positive message.
I also have another running fail of recent weeks. So I had booked my sports massage, which I do every couple of weeks, and I turned up so excited. I was in terrible need for this massage. I turned up super excited. It's going to be great. And they're like, Steph, you're not booked in for today. It's next week. And I was so upset. I cannot tell you the disappointment, because they didn't have any availability either. I was like, okay. It's also slightly embarrassing because I was like, had to just walk out like, oops, got the wrong day. But it was, that was a fail for me because.
Yeah, that's really disappointing. I hope you went and treated yourself to something. You need to treat after that.
I don't know. It was just, I was a bit sad.
That is really sad.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I actually think when I booked it, I thought I was booking it for the day I turned up. So I put it in my calendar on that day, but clearly didn't look at the confirmation email.
Oh dear. But you got it the next week.
I did.
Good. Glad to hear. Okay, so what about the highs? What are your running highs of recent weeks?
Well, I was trying to think of a recent one, which was from this weekend when I was away. And it was one that started almost a bit of a low, but I think feels like more of a high because of it starting badly. So as we know, my training readiness is 1. And that was the day after doing a long bike ride. So then Monday, I didn't run, I cycled. And I thought, okay, well, I didn't run on Monday. I'm going to feel great for my session Tuesday. And I started my warm up yesterday. And I was like, oh, my legs are jelly. And I was like, this is not good. I was like, okay, clearly I underestimated what a long ride was going to do to my legs. So I'm not sure this is going to go well. And I start the first rep and I think, oh, I don't know if I should session today. And I really thought I might just call it a day and delay it till today. And then suddenly, like in the second one, I was like, you know what? I feel like maybe it's getting a bit better. And as the session went on, I just started feeling really good. But it was by no means like my best session, but it was almost the contrast of how bad I felt at the beginning. And my legs like warmed up and I was really enjoying it. And obviously it was like nice scenery and everything. And it was a real high because I was just like, I was loving it. And then I was so proud of myself for just persevering and getting through it. So
that's
was
such a good message, isn't it? That I always try to, because we've all have those days where like the warm-up feels terrible. I feel like in marathon training that happens so often.
Yeah.
But I always set to myself all, it's like no judging the workout on the warm-up.
Yeah.
And sometimes those ones are the best.
Yeah.
And it just takes a bit of time to get into it. And I guess your legs like haven't done that much cycling, so it is just a new thing. And maybe they just felt a bit weird from,
that was
a lot
it.
on the quads. Cycling.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
My quads are always sore at the moment.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I do always, when I feel that way, I'm like, just give yourself a chance because it's so hard to judge the whole session. Even on the first rep, I started super slowly because I was like, look, just don't worry about the pace. Just start slow. And then as I was doing the first rep, I was just speeding up throughout it. And I was like, oh, okay, your body knows what to do. Yeah.
And it is, of course, marathon training as well. So how is Valencia shaping up?
I did my first actual marathon session on Friday.
Exciting. How'd it go?
Which was, well, it was meant to be 5 by 4K with 1K float, which is very long.
Very long.
But my coach did say, look, it's like, we're kind of, well, I've been doing long runs, but, you know, I haven't done a big session like that. So he was like, just see how you feel after 4, maybe just do 4 of them. If you feel great, do 5. This is probably a bit of a running fail as well. I should have stuck to 4, but I was like, when I'm given the option of doing more, I always do the most unless there's a real reason I can't. So yeah, I was doing the 4Ks were meant to be like roughly marathon pace, and then the float is like 30 seconds per K slower. So it's still like a steady run pace. So you're never really recovering. So, you know, as soon as you start that first effort, you're not going to be able to like relax until you get through the whole thing. And I was feeling really positive because I've not done anything like that for ages. And I was like, oh, but on the third one, I was like, I think I can keep sort of progressing through this. The fourth one comes and about halfway through, it was quite windy. I was just doing it on my own. And I don't know what happened, but I was kind of pushing into the wind. And the second half, I hit the wall.
Oh, no.
And I got through that one. But it was like, as the float came, it was like my soul, my legs, my body. I just had nothing left. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know what happened, but I found it so hard to run. So I like still did the fifth one, but it was just like shockingly slow. I was like, I'm just going to do it for the distance. But yeah, I wasn't disheartened because I was like, okay, I knew one of the options was just to do 4 of them. And I got through all 4 of those and just had a bonus one.
Good work. I mean, that was a huge session.
Yeah.
So how many more big sessions will you have? Big marathon sessions will you have?
Probably only like... I'd say about 3. I've got one this Friday. Yeah, I'd say 3.
So scary when you think, not scary. We're excited.
Yeah, we're excited.
We're not scared. But it's just come around so quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think I need more than that.
Yeah.
Because I do think in the past, I get so much confidence from doing well in those sessions, but you can do them a bit too hard.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, only doing 2 or 3 more of them is okay.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered how pro runners can run so much and yet stay injury free? Well, here's a little secret. It's in their shoes. Meet ENERTOR, the revolutionary running insole that absorbs 51% of the force of each foot strike. Designed for and with elite runners, ENERTORs not only protect you from injury, but also boost your energy return, helping you run faster for longer, pain-free.
With so many big names behind them, including Usain Bolt, I was keen to try them. If I'm being honest, I didn't think insoles were for me. I didn't think I needed them, but when I tried them, I was shocked because you really feel that energy return in every foot strike. It makes me feel really bouncy when I run, especially when my legs are feeling tired. Want to experience the ENERTOR difference? Try them out
risk-free on their website with their 60-day money-back guarantee. And for our lucky listeners, you can use the code 5mileseasy at checkout for 15% off your order.
Unlock your running potential with ENERTOR insoles today.
Okay, and what's your running high? You have obviously been on the Ultra G.
I mean, I think that's got to be my running high, to be honest, because it was so exciting.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's got to be my running high. And of course, Boldly Run Club, which ironically I won't be running at, but I will be a bag lady and very excited
Rose
to
will
do
be
my
watching the
juicy.
bags, yeah.
But next time my running high, I hope, will be that I'm running back outside and having a great time. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, it's going to be so good.
Oh, actually, my other, not really running, but high, is my gym work has been going really well.
Great.
So I think that it's actually been really good to see. I've been working with Aiden on like building back the strength. And it was crazy. When I first started, I was so wonky. Like the strength on my left side was so bad because of 5 weeks on crutches. So you just lose so much kind of conditioning.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think with coming back from injury, it's that stage when when you're thinking about starting back running, it's so hard to be patient. And actually we did like 3 weeks where I was just really focused in the gym. And it's not my favorite activity. Like I'd obviously rather be out running, but it is really rewarding. We did some strength tests at the start and at the end to see that progress and see
Cool.
It's like seeing your body getting ready.
Yeah.
And that has given me so much confidence to start back. So yeah, that's a high.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think.
I remember the message that you sent me on one of your first strength sessions. I think you said something like, I just tried to do a squat and my quads completely cramped.
It was so bad. It's amazing what you lose. Like,
yeah.
It was not a heavy squat. I literally put on, I can't remember what I was squatting before, but it was like a lot less than I had been doing, thinking this is going to be my warm-up set.
Yeah.
And both my quads were just like, no.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
Oh, that's so funny.
But I'm back.
You're back.
Squatting.
You're strong.
Yeah. Ready to go.
Ready to run. Shall we talk about learnings?
It's quite funny when we come to do this section. It's like I must have learned a lot over the last 4 weeks, and then I really struggle. But
yeah, I feel like I've learned nothing, but you learn lots every day.
Well, yeah, it's just apparently my retention is terrible. But I have to say, I committed to a 4-hour podcast recently.
Not all at once, surely.
No, it took me. Okay. So it took me a car journey and 2 watt bike, 2 easy watt bikes to get through.
I can deal with that.
But like a 4-hour podcast, it's a big commitment.
When recording it, they must have done it in sections, surely.
No, I think it was all in one.
No. Well,
they'd have been in there.
We can never do a 4-hour podcast.
No, I don't think we'll ever do it. Yeah. Yeah, mind blowing. But it was on Diary of a CEO with Andrew Huberman, who does a lot. He has the YouTube channel. He's like very scientific. And I'm not gonna lie, I've tried his YouTube channel, and so it is super interesting, but you have to be in the right mood for it because you can't. It's not like a background noise. You have to really concentrate. But this podcast was about dopamine, and like the point of the podcast was how in society we're now like so hooked on dopamine because of like phones and social media, and then like always chasing the next dopamine fix. But he did also talk a lot about dopamine in sport, and that was super interesting because there was a lot like I just didn't know about. So I'm going to try and summarize this 4-hour
I'm
conversation.
interested.
The runner's high is often linked to endorphins, so like that feeling of satisfaction and high you get after a run. Everyone talks about the endorphins, but actually it's a mix of endorphins, dopamine, and endocannabinoids, which are 3 separate neurochemicals. Interestingly, endocannabinoids, I might be saying that wrong, but you get the gist. They basically act on the brain like cannabis does.
Oh.
But it's natural and produced by your body.
Yeah.
So they play a role in pain relief, mood regulation, and stress response, providing a natural high after a run. And then dopamine is the thing that keeps us going back to running, which is what I found so interesting. And basically works as we're approaching a target. So if we set ourselves like a goal of running 5 miles easy, when we get to like 4 miles, dopamine will be released to tell us we're about to reach that target, and it will boost our motivation. So like the end of the run is really satisfying. And that's why like the end of sessions and the end of runs are so satisfying, because we've got the dopamine boost. Like you don't have to wait till you finish it to feel good.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
It's something that like I've obviously noticed, but I've never really thought about it in detail. And I thought it was so interesting to actually understand that.
Yeah. And so it's very right when people say that running is their drug or running is their therapy.
Literally.
Yeah.
But it can also, so the way it works is like it's obviously a good thing to get that dopamine boost. It makes you feel good, but it also like raises your baseline.
Right.
So then when you stop running or after a run, or if like you can't exercise, that's why you can feel low, because it's basically you've raised your baseline and then you drop below it because you haven't got that regular dopamine boost.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
So,
and also I think knowing that you're going to get it is what also gets you out the door.
Yeah.
You know, when you're not feeling motivated, but you're like, I know I'm going to feel so good at the end of this.
Yeah. So that you never regret
going
for the run.
Yeah.
Because you know you're going to feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I found it really interesting, actually. And it was a very good 4-hour podcast, I have to say.
No, thanks for sharing.
But...
That's super interesting. I actually have thought of something I've learnt. And it was on our podcast, the sleep podcast. I learned so many things on David's podcast. Well, our podcast, but David was the guest. I just found that whole episode so fascinating that, you know, before our podcasts go out, we listen back to them to make sure it's all okay. And when I was listening back to this one, I felt like I was listening to a whole other person's podcast. I was so into it. And I just found it so interesting, the sleep cycles, because I mean, I knew the names of each stage, but not necessarily what they did, and that you're kind of going through these 90-minute cycles. And that's why if you wake up during part of it, rather than at the end of the cycle, is why you'd feel groggy versus more awake, and just the purpose of each cycle. I just found it so interesting.
Yeah, I have to say it's one episode that I've thought about so much now since that, and thought about it in relation to my own sleep, and like understanding it is so helpful. It's also made me a lot more like relaxed about sleep. I think understanding it and not thinking, oh my God, I only got like 7 hours sleep. I've got this massive sleep debt and I've completely screwed myself.
Yeah.
It's like, no, actually, you're fine.
Yeah. And your body's clever enough to actually, even if you don't get a super long sleep the next night, the quality might be really different, and it gets more deep sleep to make up for it.
Was a super interesting episode.
Yeah.
Loved that one. Right. So, news of the week. What has grabbed your attention in the running headlines?
The men's half marathon record went on the weekend at Valencia Half.
Yeah, another one.
And do you see the weather there?
It was terrible.
Yeah, it looked absolutely horrible. I don't know how anyone could run fast in that rain, but someone did. Well, a lot of people did. But Yomif Kejelcha.
Let's just call him Yomif. I'm sure he won't mind.
Yomif, Ethiopia's Yomif, ran 57 minutes and 30 seconds. The record before was 57 minutes and 31 seconds. So it was a 1 second world record, but still.
Close. Oh my God, can you imagine the anxiety coming down that finish line?
Yeah.
Knowing you're so close. Do you think I wonder if he knew, like, as he was coming down? I mean, he must have been
when you
going
see that
for
clock. Yeah, he must have been going for it.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean when you're so close to something and you literally could not run faster.
Yeah.
That everything is just screaming. Yeah, super, super fast. And actually the female winner ran the second fastest ever women's half marathon.
What was that?
63:04.
Oh.
It's not acceptable, is it?
No, that is horrible. I'm not even sure. So on the Ultra G, you can run really fast because it's taking percent of your body weight. So like your legs can run at a really fast pace, and your heart rate will be like not like fine.
Yeah.
I don't think the treadmill will actually go up to that speed, but I don't even know if my legs could like.
Yeah, if you could physically move them that
I mean,
fast.
I could do 63, but not 57.
No. What pace is that? What's that for like 100 meters? Do you know? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, how long could I hold it if I did 100 meters flat out? Would that be okay? It's just ridiculous, isn't it? So yes, very, very, very fast times. Maybe I need to go and do Valencia half next year. That'd be quite fun.
Yeah, I've actually always wanted to do it too. It is meant to be really, everyone seems to run really, Valencia is just fast, full
Yeah,
stop.
yeah. Was there any other news that caught your eye?
Not a fast race, but very impressive. It was actually in Chicago, but for some reason it's just been in the news recently, like this week. Did you see someone ran it in high heels?
Yeah, I did see that.
Which, I mean, like, there are a lot of very, very impressive fancy dress outfits, especially at London Marathon and things. You just see these insane outfits where you think, how do people run in that? But I feel like high heels is taking it to a whole new level. Like the blisters.
The injuries, the calves. I can't even walk in high heels anymore.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
calves.
it's like the antithesis of super shoes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Literally.
So what time did this person run or walk or were they running?
I don't think they were doing it for time.
Yeah, but still, they finished a marathon.
Yeah, they finished a marathon in
I
high
wanna
heels.
know what
And
they
they were
did.
like full on stilettos as well. I mean, if you're doing it, you'd just go for a block heel, wouldn't you?
A wedge.
Or wedge.
Yeah,
But no,
so you've got the
these
surface
looked
area.
like proper stilettos, which
Yeah,
Fair play.
my ankle would be broken by the end of that.
if you were to run in fancy dress, what would you do?
I guess it depends on the purpose because a lot of fancy dress you could run really fast in because you can make it very runnable.
Yeah.
But if you were to do something that was very uncomfortable, good question. I don't know. It could be anything. Oh, there was one that I did want to do where I quite like the idea of doing it with someone else. You know, it's like a
Yeah.
joint
Or
costume.
like caterpillar.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know, something where you have to do it with someone else because it makes it a bit
Yeah.
more fun. If you're uncomfortable, you may as well have a bit of fun with someone else. But yeah, I think you would need to choose the place carefully because if it's going to be hot with a costume,
I
it's
feel
not
like the
for me.
chafage is always a big issue, but maybe we should do one for Boldly.
Let's do it. What would you do?
Do a 3-person costume. Yeah, I don't know.
I remember seeing someone do Forrest Gump, but like he ran a really fast race because
Yeah, that's the thing. I quite want to do one that's really impressive. Like still run pretty fast.
Yeah.
And get a world record for something that
yeah,
is actually a
good marathon
yeah,
time.
a good marathon time. But it does limit. I mean, you could swimmers. The armbands would be the issue,
and goggles.
and yeah, the goggles not great. But I actually met a very lovely lady who has an MBE for her services in like sports charity. Her name's Sally Orange, and she
Lovely name.
has run the most marathons dressed as a fruit. So she basically, and they're all on, she's run like marathons like all over the world, literally on every continent. I think
Yeah.
that's the record actually, is for every continent dressed as a fruit.
Okay.
But she does a different fruit for each place, but they're all kind of linked. So she did I think she did like an iceberg lettuce in Antarctica or something like that. Like it's really
that's
funny.
So clever. Are they like big costumes or
Yeah.
are they runnable?
No,
Okay,
no. These are
Okay.
like, it's like a full size lettuce.
Yeah. Well,
Not a full
Not-
size lettuce, but
a giant.
lettuce. But you got
Yeah.
like the full shape of it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I got you.
like an iceberg. You're not going like
big round thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But she's raised an insane amount of money for Mind charity, I believe.
Oh, amazing.
So she works in mental health, and so that's kind of her cause of doing all these marathons.
I love that.
Very impressive.
No, it's really impressive. And it made me think, you said she's doing it all around the world. This isn't related to fancy dress, but I really want to do that round the world marathon challenge. You know, where you do one continent each day for a week?
That would be
So
so
it's 7
fun.
days. I can imagine it does get very tiring because you're traveling constantly
Yeah.
and then running a marathon. But I think that's just one of those challenges I really want to do.
Yeah, I just want to do race across the world, which I know it's not running, but it looks really fun.
Yeah, I would like to do that as well. Okay, shall I read out some of the listeners' messages? Okay, so we put a question box on our Instagram stories. And I did one first just to get people a bit comfortable.
This was your bee sting.
It was my bee sting. So I shared a photo of a running fail of mine, which was being stung by a bee. My face was incredibly swollen for like a week.
It wasn't great.
It was so bad. So yeah, that happened on a run. So I just thought I'd share that, see what else people could come up with. It was all quite related to that, actually. It was quite funny. So I'm glad I'm not alone. So someone said, on a shakeout run before a 20-mile race, I tripped and fell into a bed of stingers, stung head to toe.
Oh. Well, did they do the race? That's what I want to know. Because
I
that would
reckon
be,
so.
yeah, fair play.
Very itchy.
Yes, very itchy.
Okay, another one. I face planted 40 meters before the finish line of Valencia and still have the carpet burn scar.
Oh, I mean, carpet burn probably better than the road, but still.
Yeah.
40 meters from the end as well. That's so cool.
Yeah, and that's the Valencia is that big blue carpet.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's almost like your body just knows it's about to stop.
Yeah.
So your legs start like just falling
Going
over.
to jelly.
Yeah, so I think it's just so
dear.
easy to fall. And then it's a very similar one. It's funny because no one knows what anyone sent. But second marathon, 11 years ago, on for a target of 4 hours, tripped and fell on my face.
I mean, it does happen a lot at races. That's so pushing. And I think, the race I fell over at, Cabbage Patch 10.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, completely face planted.
Or just in the middle of the race? Or
No, it was right at the start. It was because the roads aren't closed, so it was really busy.
Yeah.
And I remember I got tripped, and I remember I like went off the pavement, so I fell into the road, which still had cars on it.
Yeah.
I didn't get run over, obviously, but yeah, I was really annoyed because it was like the first mile.
Yeah, that's
And
happened to me.
I still ran it, but
Yeah, that happened to me in a 5K road race. Was right at the start, and I was I think I was one of the first lines. So you're surrounded by men, and 5K, everyone goes off at a crazy pace, and it was just like stampede. And I just went flying, and I completely winded myself as well.
oh,
But the adrenaline of it, I was like, I can't give up after 20 meters. So I got up. I couldn't like breathe for a bit, but I just sprinted to catch back up. And I don't know what, like the things that adrenaline gets you through. Like I ran a really good time, but I think afterwards I was in a lot of pain. I've still got some scars.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's from that race. I had like a hole in my arm because I just like went like that. Yeah.
Well done on the PB.
I think it might have been a PB at the time, which is crazy. We also had another fellow wasp sting.
Which is actually, I was quite shocked when you said you'd been stung on a run, which I find quite shocking that a bee would just sting you whilst running. But
Yeah, it was one of those things where, you know, when something flies into your eyes, you don't really see it happening because your eye automatically closes. So I didn't really see it. But then I was like, I knew straight away that it stung me because you can feel that.
very painful.
But then I was halfway through my run, so I just had to carry on.
Obviously, you have to carry on.
And
It would stop.
But it didn't actually look like anything for that whole day. And then I woke up the next day and it just blown up. And I was
Like,
like,
I had some really bad
gosh.
Botox.
yeah, like I'd had really bad fillers in one side of my face. Yeah, it was bad news. But yeah, someone else had the same thing. Said the same thing happened to me. I had sunglasses on and a wasp got in.
Oh,
That's why it's scary 'cause it's trapped.
Yeah, dangerous activity running.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing well, to me, they're kind of funny, but I'm sure at the time those things weren't funny.
Retrospectively funny.
Yeah.
We can laugh about them now.
But if anyone has any good running stories, please do send them to us on Instagram and we will read them out on the next show.
Yes, so that is a wrap on 6 Mile. Thanks for joining us for 5 Miles Easy.
See you next time.